Yesterday, we brought everybody the story of Marjorie Taylor Greene on the House floor calling Lauren Boebert a little bitch. Well, one day later, we've learned a little bit more about their confrontation. So let's go through this with a little bit of context now that we've been able to develop. In case you missed yesterday's story, here's what this very silly spat between the two MAGA Republicans was all about. Greene introduced impeachment articles against Biden as early as January 2021, and then again this May. Boebert put forward her own impeachment articles more recently, but has been trying to force an immediate vote on them by turning them into a so-called privileged resolution that can go straight to the floor. This is according to Semaphore. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene was very unhappy that Lauren Boebert was essentially trying to undercut or one up Marjorie Taylor Greene. And earlier in the day, Greene said she has been a long champion of articles of impeachment against Biden and strongly suggested Lauren Boebert is late to a push that she herself, Greene, already owns. Lauren Boebert never addressed the conference. I made it clear to the conference that I have introduced articles of impeachment literally since Joe Biden's first day in office. I have been talking about it with everybody forever, literally everyone forever. If I'm blue in the face, you see me? I'm blue in the face, as if it's a good thing to deprive your brain of oxygen and become blue in the face. Well, the big fight then happened later in the day. And here's what happened. They were both on the House floor. The back and forth apparently began when Lauren Boebert approached Greene, who was then seated in the chamber, and confronted Greene over her statements you made about me publicly. Greene then stood up and alleged that Boebert copied my articles of impeachment, to which the Colorado lawmaker fired back that she has not even read Greene's resolution. Greene: I've donated to you, I've defended you, but you've been nothing but a little bitch to me. And you copied my articles of impeachment after I asked you to co-sponsor them. Boebert: okay, Marjorie, we're through. Greene: we were never together. Now, it's not exactly clear what happened, but at some point during the fight, this came. Greene said that at one point, Boebert accused Greene, the Georgia lawmaker, of accidentally spitting on her lip. Then towards the end of the exchange, Boebert tried to re-engage Greene, but Greene cut the conversation off. I said, you need to shut up because the only person that's recognized to speak right now is Luna, Greene told Semaphore, referring to Representative Anna Paulina Luna, Republican from Florida, who was then giving a speech on the floor. So a little more context. I'm not sure it gets any prettier, Cenk, but your reaction?
Yeah, okay, these are children, and let me explain what would happen if adults were involved in this conversation. So let's say that I was in Congress and I'd introduced a resolution on paid family leave. And then later someone else introduced a resolution on paid family leave, and it looked like it had momentum and might pass. That wouldn't make me mad, that would make me happy, because I want paid family leave. But for them, it's not about the policies. And this is nonsense anyway. It's impeachment of Biden over literally nothing. So Marjorie Taylor Greene's point is, I was a fraud well before you were a fraud. And Boebert's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to steal your thunder on how big a fraud I am. So there's nothing to care about. There's no policy. None of this is gonna help the average American's life at all. And it's all about egos. And that's why they're fighting. That's why they hate each other now, even though ostensibly they agree on policy, although I haven't really seen them talk about policy ever to help the average American. No, maybe to hurt people, like, oh, I hate trans people, I hate gay people, I hate black people, whatever it is. Oh, January 6th when we tried to do a coup against America was awesome. Instead about policy, something that actually helps the average American. Nothing. So, and to be fair, look, there's these kind of like, there's fights between Democrats and Republicans that are very similar to this. So Democrats are not completely innocent of this either overall. Now in this particular fight, it's only these two, right? And so I'm being clear about it. But look, on the Democratic side, the main problem is they don't have enough fights because they actually disagree on policy. So the progressives want paid family leave. The great majority of the Democratic Party are corporate Democrats who don't want it. And so the progressives should challenge them on actual policy. But none of that works here in Washington. It's a bunch of children. They're aided and abetted by the mainstream press that loves this kind of stuff. And so, and by the way, okay, here, I'll adjudicate this nonsense fight. Who's correct? Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene is more correct in Washington world. She introduced the resolution first, and you're supposed to give deference out of the etiquette, blah, 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 blah. okay, who's actually correct if you cared about Biden being impeached, which is, as I stated earlier, absurd anyway, but Boebert is correct because Boebert had introduced it in a way that would force a vote right away. Now, the reason that Marjorie Taylor Greene did not do that is because she's working with Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy does not want it introduced right away, as he showed by basically kicking it over to a committee that David will probably tell us about in a second. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene was being a good soldier by not pushing it forward, and when Lauren Boebert did push it forward, then she caught feelings like, that should be my credit. I should get the credit for being dumber than you. Okay, well, all right, have at it, Hoss.
Well, and we've also found out that Marjorie Taylor Greene has apparently a certain affinity for the word bitch because she's now used it repeatedly, and we'll explain that in just a sec. But first of all, both congresswomen spoke to the media after their little spectacle on the House floor. And by the way, this is the same House floor where Marjorie Taylor Greene served as parliamentarian a few weeks ago and called for decorum. Anyway, this is what Greene told the Daily Beast. I'm sorry, Lauren Boebert told the Daily Beast, Marjorie is not my enemy. I came here to protect our children and their posterity. Joe Biden and the Democrats are destroying our country. My priorities are to correct their bad policies and save America. Here's what Greene told the Daily Beast. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Greene also spoke to Semaphore about the showdown. Greene said that she told Boebert she was upset that the Colorado lawmaker had decided to imitate rather than support Greene's own impeachment effort. It's purely for fundraising, said Greene. It's throwing out red meat so that people will donate to her and Lauren Boebert's campaign because she's coming up on the end of the month and she's trying to produce good fundraising numbers. Asked whether there was any chance the two would reconcile after the confrontation, Greene said, absolutely not. She has genuinely been a nasty little bitch to me. Yes, she used the word bitch again. Well, that night, Lauren Boebert, the Colorado Republican, then claimed that she needed to impeach Joe Biden because it was a holy mission. Watch.
All glory to God. This is grace. This is God's empowerment and His ability, and staying grounded, rooted in the Word of God. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I am directed and led by Him. You know, there was pressure for me not to introduce the articles of impeachment tonight. Well, not introduce them, but bring them up and call them for a vote. And I said, you know, I have a peace, a still in my spirit, and I'm going to be led by peace. Not by the pressure from the outside. And we've seen that on full display with the speaker's race where Matt Gaetz and I were surrounded, pressure from the outside, but strong on the inside, knowing that we are purposed and that we are doing what is right, what is righteous. It is all about being led by the Spirit of God in everything that you do. I do give Him all glory for where I am, for the people that He has positioned me with and in front of, to speak life into situations and to hold the corrupt accountable.
So Lauren Boebert was on a mission from God to impeach Joe Biden. You may recall the Blues Brothers were on a mission from God, but for them it was to raise money for a Catholic church. For Lauren Boebert, it's to impeach Joe Biden. In any case, unfortunately for Boebert, Cenk, as you mentioned, Kevin McCarthy put the big kibosh on her mission. House Republicans are now aiming to refer a Biden impeachment resolution to two committees instead of holding an immediate vote on impeaching the president. The House will vote Thursday to send a resolution offered by Representative Lauren Boebert, Colorado, to the Homeland Security and Judiciary Committees. This is from NBC News. The House Rules Committee advanced the plan in a last-minute meeting Wednesday night after huddling with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who urged rank-and-file Republicans at a closed-door meeting earlier in the day to oppose Boebert's resolution, arguing that such an important issue should go through the committee process. 3 GOP sources who heard the comments confirmed. There are also several Republicans close to McCarthy who spoke on the record to the media blasting impeachment, regardless of whether it's from Marjorie Taylor Greene or from Lauren Boebert, saying that it is misguided, it is premature, it undercuts their existing Joe Biden investigations. And so interestingly, Cenk, Republicans at least seem to understand the political problems here, and that is they understand that they're giving Democrats a huge political gift by portraying the GOP yet again as reckless and not serious.
Yeah. So, all right, look, at least one person says something honest in this exchange. And that was, funny enough, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She said that Boebert's doing it for fundraising. That is definitely true. And she would know because Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced that resolution earlier for fundraising. And all of this theater is for fundraising. So look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and a lot of the radical right have figured out something accidentally. When AOC and others ran as uncorrupted Democrats with no corporate PAC money, they actually had to try to appeal to the grassroots to get money. And so they had to do things that were popular on their side. And the right wing learned from that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert now do inflammatory things that are popular on their side. But on their side, you have to be a lunatic to be popular. So you have to say, like for example, on this articles of impeachment, anybody who watches the show knows I massively disagree with Joe Biden on a ton of things. But impeachment, what are we impeaching him for? And the Republicans are like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Something we disagree with him on policy, the border. Yeah, that's it. You can't impeach someone because you disagree with them on policy. I think Joe Biden was a fraud on minimum wage. He said that he was gonna raise minimum wage. He didn't even try, he torpedoed it on his own. He's a giant liar and a greasy politician. So are all of them. You don't impeach someone over that. You impeach someone over something that they did wrong legally, not because you disagree. But they don't care about any policy. They don't care about anything related to the actual voters. This is all for fundraising, ego, etc. And then what is that God gobbledygook? You right wingers, you both kill me and amuse me. I mean, like, what are you guys doing? Like, you listen to that crap and you believe that? All she has to say is like, God spoke to me and God agrees with my impeachment proceedings. So God made me do it, so it must be right. Wait a minute, can I just say the same thing? Okay, God says that he's in favor of paid family leave. Go pass it now. No, it's not me. It's not me, it's God. Well, now you gotta do it. Now you gotta do it. And I'll use the same gobbledygook, like there's a, what did she say? I'm gonna put life into it and there's a split somewhere and there's a log in somebody else's eye and Gog and Magog want something else. Whatever, let's pass some goddamn real bills instead of this crap. All right, and lastly, in terms of going to committee, what that means is they delayed it because they don't want to do it, okay? So the leadership of the Republicans, why don't they want to do it? When they all would fundraise off of it, their base is frothing at the mouth and like, they wanted to. Marjorie Taylor Greene is blue in the face, as David explained to you earlier, because from the minute she got in, let's impeach Biden. But wait, he hadn't done anything yet. Because they don't care about reality, right? But Republican leadership realizes we're all starting to sound and look like lunatics. Before, and then David, this is really important because before they had a nice little shell game that mainstream media would help them with. Oh, well, the Republicans are just as good. I mean, I can't tell, 50-50. They could be right, the Democrats could be right. Maybe the rich deserve another couple of $1 trillion in tax cuts. I can't tell, it's 50-50. Now it doesn't look 50-50 anymore because they look like goddamn lunatics. So now they're not gonna lose their base over that. Their base loves it, they fraud more, right? No, they're gonna lose important swing districts and maybe swing states. That's why they're worried, not because they wanna do the right thing. It's the Republican Party, that would never happen.
I think they may also, Cenk, end up losing supporters of, say, border and custom control workers and agents, because one of the things that, one of the Democrats read the articles of impeachment in one of the hearings already. And literally you have Lauren Boebert's resolution, which says Joe Biden has given the border to total anarchy to the cartels. Now, you can make an argument that maybe the cartels have more power over the border, maybe they have more influence, but to suggest that they totally control the border is ridiculous. Likewise, to suggest that it's Joe Biden has turned into an open border to invite everybody in. Well, again, that's maybe a great rhetorical flourish if you're conservative, but that's not grounded based in reality. And it's the difference between you want to argue over the policy, then let's have a serious argument over whether there should be more border security, whether it should be tighter, whether there should be more efforts to take on the cartel. But to just make up a bunch of baloney, which is absolute nonsense, which is insulting to the border states and also to the border agents who are down there, it doesn't seem like that serves any real benefit to the Republicans and only seems to hurt them, at least politically, in some of the Southwest states.
So I don't mean to offend third graders here, but I'm done trying to argue with Republicans. It's like arguing with a third grader. Like, oh, what do you think? Oh, you think the policy should be different because Sally wore the wrong bow. Okay, good one. Let me think about it. Look, every Republican politician is a liar. Every single one of them. Because they all say, as an example, but I can give you hundreds of examples, oh, we have an open border. No, we don't, that's a lie. There's like, if we had an open border and nobody was guarding it and it was perfectly legal to come in, a hell of a lot more people would come in. No, there's laws against it, and that's why we detain people when they come across the border. And in fact, they say we're not detaining enough people. Oh wait, so that means we are detaining people. That means it's not an open border, and every one of you is a goddamn liar. So what am I debating? I'm not debating these clowns. And the mainstream media, unfortunately, again, they aid and abet this by having debates over matters of fact that can't be debated, right? So how do I debate your non-facts with my facts? It makes no sense at all. And the only way you debate it is you wind up being Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert debating each other about who's dumber and who's the bigger bitch and weirdo stuff like that. So welcome to America. This is what our government has turned into.
And one more bite at this apple, and that is, there seems to be a sense, Cenk, among a lot of the rank and file Republicans, based on some of the reports in social media, that this is not the end of the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert fight, that this is really just the beginning, that it's gonna get more intense, it's gonna get harsher, they will start dragging in their various allies and supporters. And so you really are perhaps looking at a circular firing squad, at least in the MAGA caucus, over who should get credit for trying to impeach Joe Biden for something so absurd. So, if you're a Democrat, I think you sit back and you open up the popcorn and you enjoy it, because you are literally starting to watch the Republicans disintegrate and tear themselves apart before our eyes.
Yeah, David, last thing on that, this good point. There is a silver lining there, which is that normally the Republicans shred the Democrats. They lie about them, they rip their face off, and the Democrats are like, oh, please don't, you're being offensive, and they never fight back. Now, at least they're being vicious to each other. Good, Republican politicians rip each other apart, and at least you're taking each other out instead of innocent people along the way. So have at it, Hoss. We'll sit here with the popcorn and enjoy. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.